Jennings is straight ahead.
On World News Tonight this Tuesday, the president calls it the gravest threat to the world economy in 50 years, and he says there's not a moment to waste. What does the International Monetary Fund do anyway? We'll take a closer look. The human rights organization Amnesty International goes after the United States and privacy lost on the internet. Your life just keystrokes away for anyone who wants it.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. It was a very nervous day in Washington, and while the subject of impeaching the president is the background for almost everything there, it is the state of the world's economy that we begin with tonight. Today, with financial officials from 182 countries in town, President Clinton said that the violence of boom and bust in so many places has got to be contained. Every country now knows it. Every state in the union is now affected by it. The question is what to do about it. As the president said, this is not only a run on banks. In some places, it is a run on nations. Our first report is from ABC's Sam Donaldson.
With a whiff of panic spreading through financial markets everywhere, President Clinton made it clear today he thinks there may be very little time left to avert a worldwide financial disaster.
The global economy simply cannot live with the kinds of vast and systemic disruptions that have occurred over the past year. It is time for decisive action.
The president called for new international lending mechanisms to help nations stay out of trouble. Said Europe must boost growth rates. Japan must clean up its banking system and deregulate its economy. And the United States must continue to exercise fiscal discipline.
That is why I have made it clear to our Congress that I will veto any tax plan that threatens that discipline.
And once again, the president called on Congress to free up $18 billion for the International Monetary Fund, blocked so far by key legislators who insist the IMF needs major reforms first.
We can debate how to reform the operations of the fire department, but there is no excuse for refusing to supply the fire department with water while the fire is burning.
On Capitol Hill this afternoon, prospects for the IMF funding were said now to be much brighter, although it could get caught up in the president's threat to veto final spending bills, a threat that has caused Republicans to renew their charge that Mr. Clinton is looking for a way to shut down the government.
We're concerned that they're thinking about a domestic wag the dog, take advantage of, some way to change the subject.
White House officials insist that shutting down the government is the last thing they want to do, pointing to the world economic crisis as just one reason why that would be a dangerous action. There's a real sense of foreboding here, Peter, that while the U.S. economy is still quite strong, we could be dragged down by the things going on around us.
So, Sam, one feels a sense of emergency coming out of there today. What about emergency plans?
Well, they're kicking around a lot of ideas. One of them is to perhaps have a summit of world leaders this fall, but that's just in the talking stage. The fact is, Peter, no one has been able to come up with a magic bullet that would solve this problem quickly.
Okay, Sam, thanks very much. At the White House, a little later in the broadcast, by the way, with the help of ABC's Robert Krulwich, we will try to explain the International Monetary Fund, trying to explain itself. On the subject of how the U.S. is affected, in Tokyo today, the Japanese government said that Japan's economy will shrink nearly 2% this year. That is the second year in a row that the Japanese economy has contracted, and it's one more reason for people in Asia and America to be nervous. ABC's Mark Litke reports from Tokyo.
Even on a gray and gloomy day, it can be difficult to see Japan's recession. On the surface, the world's second largest economy still appears as prosperous as ever, but clearly it is not. After 8 years of predicting recovery was just around the corner, Japanese officials are now publicly admitting the worst is yet to come. Higher unemployment, more bankruptcies, and, most serious, the possibility of more bank failures. Burdened with $1 trillion in bad debts, Japanese banks already have virtually stopped lending, bringing economic growth to a standstill.
The agenda for Japan is very clear and simple. There's no mystery. Number one, its banks are virtually bankrupt, so it has to recapitalize its banks. Number two, the economy is contracting. You've got to get growth. So fiscal measures, tax cuts. And number three, you've got to cut the strictures off this economy. You've got to deregulate and give people a good reason to invest, create optimism, a reason to spend money.
Up to now, Japan's response to the economic crisis has been to move slowly, to build consensus, the way it's traditionally done here. But there are signs today the country may finally realize there's no more time to waste. In Parliament, they inched closer toward passage of critical banking reform bills. The Prime Minister also vowed to speed up his economic stimulus package, over $100 billion in public spending and tax cuts. From the Parliament to the people, it seems Japan is at least starting to accept that without decisive action, the gloom could hang over this country for years to come. Mark Litke, ABC News, Tokyo.
Several other items on the economic billboard tonight. Mercedes, short order bonuses in European markets. Several stock markets in Europe waged powerful rallies today. There was a cut in the Spanish interest rates, and investors have taken that as a sign that interest rates may go down elsewhere, including here. Daimler-Benz is expanding again. First it was Chrysler. Today we learned that Daimler is buying Thomas-built buses, which makes a third of all school buses in North America. And retail stores and restaurants are creating more jobs than they have workers to fill them. Some of the fast food places are now offering a $400 signing bonus. On Wall Street, an early rally faded, but the Dow Jones Industrials held on to gain 16 3/4 points to close at just under 77.43. The Nasdaq fell 25 points to 1510. When we come back, we'll have some of the day's other important news. NATO battle stations at the ready. What does it mean for the Serbs? And later, God on a billboard. Everybody advertises.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Kerry.
I can't afford to have rough hands, not with my patients.
Oh, yes, you are.
I try to keep my hands smooth so that it will be comforting when I touch the patient. It's a great thing that this hospital uses Kerry.
Kerry's therapeutic formula works on 3 levels. First, it soothes. Then it moisturizes. Finally, it protects against dryness.
The babies love it when my hands are soft because then my skin is as soft as theirs.
Kerry, it's trusted therapy for dry skin. And there's Kerry antibacterial hand lotion to kill germs as it softens hands.
The Accord Coupe from Honda. How will it affect you? At Uniroyal, in order to make a point about our new nail guard tires, we added a few to our test track. Nail guard tires, designed to seal 90% of tread punctures, instantly and permanently. Only from Uniroyal.
Overseas tonight, the United States and its allies in NATO are revving up forces should they be needed in Kosovo. The U.S. believes the Serbs have still not withdrawn their troops from the province of Kosovo, and hundreds of thousands of ethnic Albanians in Kosovo are still on the run. NATO threatens airstrikes. Still, no one is ready to say when. Here's ABC's John McCarthy.
In the Mediterranean today, the U.S. was showing off part of the force that would be used if the Serbs fail to back down. One ship would fire cruise missiles in a first wave, and if necessary, planes off the carrier would follow. President Clinton said today NATO is nearly ready to strike.
The stakes are high. The time is now to end the violence in Kosovo.
What the UN and NATO are demanding is that Serb leader Slobodan Milosevic pull back his forces, allow humanitarian aid for refugees, and begin peace talks with the ethnic Albanians in Kosovo, who make up 90% of the population there. In the capital of Kosovo today, Special Envoy Richard Holbrooke told ABC's Mike Lee that all Serb troops have not withdrawn.
Serb military forces, regular forces and uniformed police, are still in the area in very substantial numbers, as this map shows. It's a very bad situation.
On Capitol Hill, Defense Secretary Cohen faced first public questions about the possibility U.S. troops might eventually be needed after airstrikes.
If there's going to be an operation in Kosovo, will it require afterwards a peacekeeping mission there?
It could require an international presence.
Would that include U.S. troops?
It's a possibility, but one that I have urged that we not get involved on the ground in Kosovo.
NATO has been threatening airstrikes for weeks. American officials say a force to do that could be ready by this weekend, but admit some NATO allies do not want to move that fast, saying diplomacy, given more time, could do the job. John McWethy, ABC News, the Pentagon.
One other note overseas, the State Department said today it is closing the U.S. Embassy and consulates in Saudi Arabia until Saturday in order to review security. The Pentagon has received what it calls credible information that terrorists may be planning to attack the facilities. In the Southern California city of Riverside today, a gunman opened fire inside City Hall. 5 people were wounded, including the mayor and 2 members of the city council. Police say the gunman was trying to take hostages. He had been fired from his city job 4 years ago. One of the world's leading human rights organizations has issued a report today on human rights violations in the United States. Amnesty International is one of the groups we've looked to always to monitor human rights abuses elsewhere. American officials often quote Amnesty when they hold other nations accountable for acts of repression, brutality, or intolerance. In this case, the allegations from Amnesty are very close to home. Here's ABC's Bill Blakemore.
The report finds human rights abuses in all 50 states, mostly in the form of police brutality and mistreatment in prisons.
There are very serious human rights violations in this country which most Americans don't recognize and which the government often denies.
According to Amnesty, America's fast-growing prisons often use degrading methods of control, such as those in this training video for guards made in a Texas prison. The report criticizes the use of chain gangs for men and women, restraint chairs for prisoners, and remote-controlled stun belts for violent prisoners, which make them collapse. Some law enforcement officials defend all these practices and are angry to be cited by a group that often concentrates on countries such as Iraq.
I don't need a Amnesty International to come down here and tell this sheriff and the people that live in this county what to do.
While I'm a strong supporter of Amnesty International, I think they have misjudged this issue. To single out the United States as a perpetrator of human rights violations, I think it's preposterous and unacceptable.
The report does not rank America with other countries. It does praise America for its leading role in creating laws to prevent human rights abuses, but says it's important to judge how well the U.S. lives up to those laws.
Even governments like China that might want to resist that scrutiny will have a harder time doing that because the United States itself has had to be scrutinized under these standards.
Amnesty says if the U.S. is seen throughout the world to be confronting practices like these at home, it will only increase America's credibility as a champion of human rights. Bill Blakemore, ABC News, New York.
When we come back, privacy lost online all too easily.
With locations in over 1,800 cities and towns, there's always a Days Inn hotel nearby. Wherever you're going, wherever you're from. Days Inn. There you go.
Enterprise rent-a-car for my trip? Looks expensive.
It's not expensive, Mom.
They pick us up? Sounds expensive.
Pickup's free, Mom.
Well, if it's not expensive, why didn't I get a convertible?
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
Before you do this or this or this, you want to have this and this and this.
You'd be surprised how much of our technology goes into your day.
So for this or this or this.
We're Siemens.
We can do that.
T-Bone, T-Bone, looking for a T-Bone, chewy, meaty T-Bone, at the big T-Bone store. There's one. No, that's not one. Over there. No, over on the shelf. Oh, too green. Wait a minute there. A whole package of little chewy, meaty T-Bone steaks. I'm waking up.
Mama brought you some T-Bones dog snacks.
Made with real meat, so dogs think
it's a T-Bone.
Resealable T-Bones, brand from Purina. Dogs don't know it's not a T-Bone.
It's a T-Bone.
Linda. No, up here. Why waste time checking office supply prices? You know you'll always get guaranteed low prices at Staples.
Thanks. Candy?
Thank you. Ooh, caramel.
Staples has guaranteed low prices on everything for your office, like an HP cartridge for $23.88. Want great prices? Staples. Yeah, we've got that.
Hey, I got a letter back from Quaker. I wrote and told them that Quaker toasted oatmeal ought to be called Quaker Tasty Oatmeal.
It's oatmeal, it's toasted. To me, that says tasty.
Well, then they should call it that.
You need a hobby.
Quaker Toasted Oatmeal. It's your other oatmeal.
We're doing a series on privacy this week, Privacy Lost. Last night we looked at how vulnerable we are to our employers if they choose to look through our email and our voicemail, which they very often do. Tonight we make it all too clear how much there is to be learned about us without too much effort. What you make, what you eat, what you owe, what you buy. There is an electronic biography of you out there. Here's ABC Gina Smith.
Melissa Sands used to think of her private life as just that, private.
I feel like I live a pretty private life, sure.
Then we showed her what we found on the internet.
Look at this. This is your tax information. Does it all look pretty accurate? Is this your ex-husband's name?
Yes, it is.
I don't know. Do you recognize any of these names and numbers?
Oh my God, these are all the people that live around me here.
There are dozens of so-called information brokers operating online. Using just Sands' name and her address from the phone book, they were able to get her property records, financial information, driving records, even her social security number.
Wow.
All for just $116.
You could find civil suits, bankruptcies, liens, judgments. Those are all quick and easy searches that are really affordable today.
A lot of this information was always public, but it never was so easy to get. You had to know what courthouse was holding the records, and you had to be willing to sift through a lot of dusty files, or pay a private detective to do it for you. Now all that information is just a couple of keystrokes away.
We are on the verge of a very serious privacy problem in this country.
David Sobel is a privacy activist. He says the next big privacy threat is corporate America. It's starting to collect all kinds of information on what customers buy and how much they spend, even at the corner grocery.
Health insurance companies or life insurance companies might be interested in accessing these grocery store databases to assess the dietary habits. And God help you if you buy a pack of cigarettes at the grocery checkout line and that gets scanned in and tied to your name.
What you buy on the internet also leaves a data trail. The website for Victoria's Secret may no longer be your secret. A prospective employer might find your buying habits very interesting. Combine that type of information with the public information already available about you, and soon there will be detailed profiles available on everyone, ensuring that virtually nothing you do will ever be private again. Gina Smith, ABC News, Vista, California.
We'll continue this tomorrow. When you pick up the phone, who else is listening? And do you know what the wiretap capital of the nation is? We'll show you tomorrow. When we come back this evening, banking on the United States for help. We'll take a closer look.
You may be surprised who's drinking Ensure. Healthy people. Why? Because to help you stay healthy, you have to eat right. For the times you can't eat nutritious foods like these, drink Ensure. With the essential vitamins and minerals you find in vegetables, calcium like in milk, and protein like in fish. Ensure is a source of complete balanced nutrition to help you stay active and energetic. Drink Ensure. And drink to your health.
That the party of the first part did not intend for the party of the second.
I should have used Preparation H.
If you had, you wouldn't be suffering now. Preparation H helps stop itch and further irritation with a soothing layer of protection.
I should have used Preparation H.
Stops itch, stops irritation.
The U.S. Postal Service, with new automated systems from Lockheed Martin, is speeding the delivery of billions of pieces of mail. And the occasional birthday present from Uncle Will. Interestingly, Lockheed Martin is also building America's next generation of fighter planes, which means we not only help deliver the present, but the future.
Because of our passion for design and engineering, our vehicles speak for themselves. And recently, others have had some great things to say about our quality too. Sebring Convertible, Total Quality Award. Town & Country, Total Quality Award. Cirrus, Best in Class and Initial Quality by J.D. Power & Associates. Concorde, Best in Class and Initial Quality by J.D. Power & Associates. Chrysler, engineered to be great cars.
Some things can never be taught in a classroom. You won't find them in any textbook. And with Fixodent's long-lasting hold, you'll be ready, no matter where the lesson takes you. For long-lasting hold, Fixodent, and forget it.
We're going to take a closer look at a mysterious presence on the international scene tonight. That's how the International Monetary Fund describes itself at its own website on the internet. And it goes on to say that there is considerable confusion about why it has existed since 1946 and what it does. Well, we agree. So here's a very basic description. The IMF is a cooperative institution that 182 countries have joined. Each country puts in money according to its economic size. And the IMF tries to help maintain a stable global economy through the orderly flow of money between countries which have different currencies. And when it is needed, it lends money under certain conditions to member countries in need. To help us understand that and the dilemma which the IMF is in right now, we turn to ABC's Robert Krulwich.
People, of course, borrow money, but so do nations. In fact, every nation in the world, rich and poor, goes regularly to international investors and to big banks and borrows money. And like all borrowers, nations have to pay interest at certain times. But every so often, a country gets into such trouble that when it's time to pay interest, they can't or won't. They haven't got the money. And whenever a nation says, we won't pay, the word for that sends chills up bankers' spines. Because after all, a bank, no matter how big, can't arrest a country or seize its assets. So instead, the world financial system maintains a kind of emergency SWAT team. When a country's in real trouble, they send in the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, backed by 182 nations, which says, okay, you can't pay now? Fine, we will lend you the emergency money if, now this is where it gets interesting, if you stop doing whatever got you into this trouble in the first place. In Indonesia, the charge was that President Suharto and his family were so corrupt they were disrupting the economy. In Thailand, it was that banks made bad loans, lost millions, and then didn't tell anybody. They covered up their losses. Same in Korea, banks hiding their losses. And in Russia, the banks here gambled money, stole money, and also hid their losses. In all four countries, the IMF said, okay, if you sign an agreement promising to make changes and take your medicine, we'll give you more money. And what happened? In Indonesia, they took the money, but it didn't help. The country plunged into chaos. There were riots, massive unemployment, the president resigned, and in the end, Indonesia didn't pay its banks. In Russia, the Yeltsin government took $4.8 billion in emergency money, but where did it go? People lined up at their banks, but that money just disappeared. Russians defaulted on some of their payments, too. In Thailand, banks stopped making bad loans, but they also stopped making loans, period, and the economy has weakened. In Korea, the situation seems to have stabilized. So this year, the IMF had 4 patients. One of them is stable, one of them is so-so, the other 2 are very sick and getting worse. So the question is there a better way to do this? Robert Krulwich, ABC News.
A better way? Well, that, of course, is part of the debate in Washington now. Over the years, the IMF has collected $193 billion. The smallest contribution comes from the Pacific island of Palau, $3.8 million, and the largest from the U.S., about $36 billion. The Clinton administration wants to put in an extra $18 billion, which the IMF says it needs. And as you heard, some Republicans in Congress are opposed unless the IMF requires borrowers to abide by U.S. trade agreements. Quite a lot to swallow. Incidentally, the U.S. collects interest on the money it puts into the IMF, and a Treasury official tells us the U.S. has never lost a penny on any loan. And despite all the gloom and doom about countries in trouble, the IMF says that no borrower has ever completely defaulted on a loan. We'll be back in a moment with the final sign.
There you go.
You know what, Grandpa?
What?
Mommy said that Grandma's pizza will make your heart burn.
My heartburn. Oh, heartburn. Well,
Your mommy doesn't know about my secret weapon for heartburn, Pepcid AC. See, I always take one before I eat your grandma's pizza.
So your heart won't burn?
Not even if I put green peppers all over the whole thing.
Green peppers, you eat those things?
Yes.
I like anchovies.
You can be heartburn-free with Pepcid AC.
As a highlight of our franchisee meeting, we have the co-founder of Pizza Hut, Mr. Frank Carney.
Recently, the retired co-founder of Pizza Hut did something surprising. He bought a Papa John's franchise.
Sorry, guys. I found a better pizza.
Today, he owns over 70 restaurants.
Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza.
He's got it. Try our Papa's Choice. That's a large pizza with your choice of up to 5 toppings for just $9.99.
Buy a set of 4 selected Goodyear tires before November 28th and get a $50 or $100 U.S. savings bond. For the retailer nearest you, call 1-800-GOODYEAR.
With Days Inn hotels in over 1,800 cities and towns, finding a place to stay doesn't take a federal investigation. Days Inn, there you go.
Tonight, John Stossel walks on fire.
Wow, that's hot, but I'm not burned.
Braves a voodoo curse.
John Stossel, I call upon all beings of voodoo daily.
And takes you inside the supernatural trade. Test your power of belief with John Stossel tonight.
Finally from us this evening, a last word about the word. We stumbled over this very novel advertising campaign in South Florida. Whoever paid the several $100,000 for this wishes to remain anonymous, but the sponsor seems pretty clear. On a throughway, keep using my name in vain, I'll make rush hour longer. Sign God. Now this is Florida, remember. You think it's hot here? They are very quick and contemporary. Let's meet at my house Sunday before the game. The messages are all signed God. What part of thou shalt not didn't you understand? Signed God. That's our report on World News Tonight. Later on Nightline, thinking twice about cloning. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening. Hope we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Tomorrow, who are you talking to? If it's in this town, somebody could be listening. America's Wiretap Capital on ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now